All right. Welcome, everybody. Let me make sure my microphone is working. Just give me 1 second here. If anybody is watching, just let me know in the comment section if they can hear my microphone at the moment. Hopefully, it is coming out of the right microphone. Let's see. So today we are going to do a Q&A. Well, hopefully everybody, you got you? All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hopefully you can hear me well. I don't know how to, I'm not the best at this, so I can't tell if it's coming out of the good microphone or not.
Give us a thumbs up, people. Can you hear us?
Yeah, they got us right here.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, we were bored. We figured we just got out of training. We do a live Q&A. So if anybody, when they jump on, get any questions or anything they want to ask us, just let us know. Go right ahead and fire away in the chat. I do have a bunch of questions lined up from some people that I have asked questions in our story to collect some. So I figured it was time to jump on and start answering some of these. But we just got done training. I got chest done, played with my boobies and my triceps. What'd you
back
do?
Day. Back and biceps.
Back and bicep day.
Good old pole day.
Yeah. Our gym was gross, though. It was super
humid.
Yeah, super humid in there, so it kind of sucked. But that's all right. Before we know it, we'll be bitching about the humidity and the weather quite a bit. So let's see here. Let me just see. All right. So bring up some of our questions. I got quite a few, so we're just going to kind of hop around. And one of the first questions somebody had asked was, what is your current carb timing set up on high versus low days? You want to start with that one? What's your current carbing timing on high versus low? I'll go with that one first. So, yeah, so what I do is, so on my high days, I keep it, my high carb cycle. So I have high day, medium day, and low days. And then I have a very, very high days where my high days can get up to like 900 to 1,200 grams of carbs, depending on the time of the year, whether we're bulking or if it's in a prep scenario. But it's pretty high on my high days. But I have everything very consistent. But my two biggest meals, like if I'm doing 900 grams of carbs, I pretty much get like 150 pre and post in training, a little bit during my training on my intra training. And then I have myself, I have like 135 currently right now around the window from meals like 1 to 4. Then my training window has high carbs. And then my last meal of the day is another 135. So by the time you add it up, 135 from meal 1 through 4. And then pre-workout and post-workout, about 150. And then my last meal, I get 135, so that gets up to like 900 with the 50 carbs I have during my training, whether it's candy or a shake or whatnot. And then my low days kind of suck. It doesn't matter if I'm in the off season or prep scenario. Coach Paul likes to keep my carbs pretty low, pretty much zero. Sometimes I'll sneak a little bit of carbs in if I'm going to be active to a point throughout that day, mainly if it's off season, but I don't fuck around when it comes to my prep time.
Yeah.
But yours don't fluctuate quite as much.
Yeah, mine don't fluctuate as much because we like to keep me, full as much as possible. But I eat quite a bit. My high days, I get 3 high days a week right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I eat about 800 carbs on those days. And then my medium days are around 600 and my low days are about 350 carbs.
She eats a big girl diet, that's for sure.
I do.
She doesn't fuck around. I think I've already cursed 5 times, so we probably are not going to have a chance to get monetized for this one. Oh, sorry.
What else is new? I was going to take mine off too. I'm already getting hot.
I'm bringing the guns out right now.
We're going to bust the guns out, people.
So what's up, Donnie? You got a question? You lost 70 pounds. You've had some loose skin on your waist, and when you eat a lot of carbs, it just fills that area with water. Any way to prevent that? How long does it typically take for the skin to shrink back? Hey, what's up, Amy?
Amy,
My girl.
800 carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could substitute some rice for some of the cookies you bake once in a while. That'd be pretty sweet.
The cookies are amazing.
I got to find out a way to do carb only cookies.
Oh, I can do that.
Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you need some fat, some egg? You need some egg,
Let's
right?
use egg whites.
I guess you're right. No oil. We'll figure it out. That's my next thing. But Don, you said that any way to prevent filling that area with water, and how long does it typically take for skin to shrink back? Well, for the most part, like if you're having a ton of carbs, in theory, you should be consuming those carbs in, and then water. You're going to have like for every gram of carbs you consume, there should be about like roughly 4 grams of water that gets carried into the muscle to form glycogen. Now you will typically use, electrolytes throughout the day. That helps that whole process, and then activity will also shuttle all those carbs that you're eating into the muscle, and hopefully not sub-Q under the skin. There is a rare thing that I don't know a whole lot about, I'll be honest, that's called the swoosh effect. You can look it up. It's kind of interesting, which is when you actually get water to fill some of the fat cells and engorge some of the fat cells in your body. It's not super easy for the body fat cells to absorb water, but it does happen. I get some people that are too fixated on that. I had learned that from a client, this so-called swoosh effect, and they thought every time that they would hold water or not hold water, that it was this so-called swoosh effect. So honestly, dude, I wouldn't really worry too much about it. You're going to have water that fluctuates all the time anyhow. That just happens. That's hydration. Some of it's going to get under the skin and stay there, and sometimes you're going to be super dry and you're going to wake up from not having enough electrolytes, or maybe it was a low day, or you didn't have as much water, and you're going to look tight and you're going to look a lot better in regards to water.
Oh, well, I was going to say, over time, you've dealt with the loose skin aspect. I mean, that loose skin is just going to tighten up over time. Like when you get lean,
mm-hmm.
and then you grow and then you lean out again.
Yeah.
Over time, it's just going to tighten up.
Yeah. And I think Amy remembers we had this talk too on Paul's podcast, is when it comes to loose skin, in my opinion, the leaner you stay throughout the process of putting on muscle, like Jackie's getting to, in leaning out, if you don't let yourself get out of shape too far on your off season and put on a lot of belly fat, you're not re-stretching the skin and then shrinking it down. You want to keep it kind of not loose, but you want to keep it tight in the sense of just less body fat in general, and it will eventually just start to suck back up. You'll get cell turnover, and that will suck up. So staying lean throughout the whole process of off season versus on season, putting muscle on or getting skinny, whatever you want to call it, beach season or some winter season, that's going to help. But there are some other things. Growth hormone notoriously helps with skin quality. So if you are a PD user and you're using growth hormone, you'll notice over time that will improve the skin. We also talked about my experience with GHK copper, GHK Cu. That's something that's a peptide that I believe it's just a copper molecule that can tighten up the skin, notoriously tighten up the skin. And they do have mixtures as well. That come with BPC and TB 500, and they call it Glow is the nickname for that. So those 3 compounds together. So those are good for skin healing, skin tightening. You can do it topically or injectable.
Copper's in a lot of cosmetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
Jackie's an esthetician.
Eye creams.
So you could probably say, is there anything else for skin tightening that you would, just general hydration of the skin, I'm sure will help keep things.
Yeah, it's hard to say too, because like you're going to use different type of peptides for different parts of the body.
Exactly.
You're not going to be using the same thing.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so I hope that helps you. Yeah, it's like Amy says, she hit it right here. Keeping it tight all season is key to keeping skin tight in general. So just don't let yourself get out of hand. Don't let that skin stretch back out to the best you can, and you'll notice over time. It takes years. It's not a few months, but you'll have some pretty good progress. Possibly look into GHK copper. That'll accelerate it quite a bit, specifically to skin quality in those loose areas where you get skin folds. That's for sure. So
pull up another one.
Yeah. Let's do What's the wildest thing you've done to make weight or dry out before a show?
Well, I didn't have to really worry about that, but you went in the shower for like a good 15, 20 minutes and you pose in
Yeah.
the shower.
I forgot about that
Yeah.
until you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened too. Yeah, so I had one time, I just thought I was holding too much water, and I just went ahead and got in the shower while it was got the steam going, and just posed and dropped as much water as I can, kind of getting a sauna effect. It definitely helped, definitely worked. Um, I've never done anything too crazy on the diuretic side. I've used a little bit of hydrochlorothiazide. It was really the only diuretic I've ever had to use, and we've cut water really hard. So what we typically do, and what Paul's done with me in the past, is we'll carb up. We'll be high water for about 2 weeks. Maybe 2 gallons plus for 2 straight weeks leading up to the show. Let's say it's a Saturday show, so Thursday I might carb up. I'm going to keep my water really high on that day so I can suck in all the carbs with the water and the hydration. You got to have water to soak in all the carbs as well. But that Friday after that and that Saturday morning for the showtime, we'll have water stay really low in the sense of maybe like 8 ounces a meal. And that's really about it. And I've had some times where I looked a little bit watery the morning of the show, and I'll go ahead and pull all the water, just not even drink water, eat anything leading up to prejudging. So
Yeah, for me, it's like totally different. Like once we have my look in place, we're just keeping it the same. My water is like a gallon through the entire prep, and it's like that even up until peak week. So it's just like the night before I'm cutting water.
yeah. Let's see. Another one. So these are all random. I've had for a month, probably add up. But here's a diet and nutrition one. What's your take on cheat meals during growth? Are they helpful, or are they just going to retain bloat?
Of course, they're helpful.
Yeah.
Cheat meals during off season?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're going to just eat a cheat meal just for pleasure, I mean, that's a little different because I guess, the way I look at a cheat meal is I want to utilize those extra carbs and everything that I'm getting because I like to typically do it pre or post workout. My go-to is chocolate chip muffins. If you know me, you know me.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, you can utilize your cheat meal to your benefit.
Yeah. I think there's a mental aspect even in the off season with just getting out of routine and remembering that's probably the time where you get to live a little bit. So normally, like when you're getting close to a show, if your coach is giving you a cheat meal, you're going to want to use them wisely. And like we just talked again on Paul's show actually about kind of this topic the other day, is I look at cheat meals like they're silly if you're going to ruin your digestion for tomorrow. So something that would ruin my digestion would be going out and having a large pizza and a big giant bowl of ice cream. All that
fat.
Yeah, all that high fat content's going to F me up pretty bad.
Or fried.
Yeah, fried food. Yeah. Anytime we need cookies, I'll get you a box in the mail. Awesome.
You're the best.
But yeah, I'd say that but in the off season, that's your opportunity to get a little bit of mental reprieve. Like that is the time where don't beat yourself up. Like if you're going to have sushi or you're going to want to have burger and fries, or if you're like jonesing for like the other day, we made our own homemade pizza, which was not going to have all the oils added. Like it was only protein cheese, so 0 fat cheese. So that eliminated some of the fat content, and it still tastes good. And it's just another protein source. We added some grilled chicken. Probably the only fat that came in it was from maybe a little bit from the sauce. I'd imagine they probably put a small amount of oil in the sauce,
and then a very small amount in our chicken breast.
Yep, and then in the chicken.
Literally it. It was all carbs and protein.
So yeah, it can be helpful. Use them in a sense to fill out, to satisfy a craving, and be wise about them. And if you're getting bloat, you're picking the wrong things.
Exactly.
If you're waking up looking like shit and feeling like shit, you're definitely eating and utilizing the wrong things for sure.
Yep. I like to find what works and stick to it as my cheat meal.
What do you think about this one, hun? Thoughts on push-pull legs versus body part splits for maximizing growth? So they're thinking, sounds like they're saying push-pull legs versus like bro split, where you're training one body part a day.
I mean, to me, it's not really how you're going about your split. It's just the exercises and that you're choosing and your form.
Yeah, there's probably an application for both.
Yeah, there definitely is.
If you can recover, I think that actually the way that they asked the question, thoughts on push-pull legs versus body part splits, I think you want to look at for growth, for maximizing growth. So if I'm thinking about maximizing growth, I'm actually looking at maximizing my recovery window. So if I need an extra day or two, and if I can't do push-pull legs and be ready for push again on day 4, then you either need to implement a rest day and then get back onto push-pull legs and make it a 3 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off scenario. But
pull back on the volume.
That's another great one. You could pull back on the volume. So I don't think there's a problem with push-pull legs. I use push-pull legs, and I do push-pull legs. Excuse me. I do push legs, pull, push legs. And so I get 2 push days, 2 leg days, and a pull day. And I can always switch it so I can do 2 pull days if I want the following week.
Yeah, you've done that. It's pretty much every other week you're doing 2 pulls, and then
I'm taking 2 consistent days off on my Saturday and Sunday. But for growth, I'd really actually not look at what you're doing. Just maximize your volume, maximize your frequency, and balance that with how well you can rest and recover. And that's where you're going to grow, where you're getting the most stimulus of the muscle, most training of the muscle, beating down the muscle and recovering it and feeding it. Remember, you don't grow from training necessarily. You grow from the adaptation to training and drugs and rest. That's really the truth. So in the bodybuilding world, it's how well you can adapt to the supplements or PEDs you're using, as well as maximizing your rest and then optimizing your diet. And then what you do for training to damage and pick the muscles that you're going to try to grow and stimulate is up to you and your needs. So I'd pretty much look at it like whichever one works for you on the best recovery field. So you can do as much as you can in a week's time. Let's see.
Yeah, during growth, definitely track. Do your tracking in your logbook.
Let's see. Here's an insulin question. How do you personally time your insulin around high carb days, pre or post workout? Is the question. So for me, I only utilize insulin if needed by monitoring my glucose. Mm-hmm. And I'm only going to typically use them on my high carb day. So let's say in an off-season scenario, I'm getting 3 high carb days a week and then 2 medium days a week for training and then 2 off days, so 2 low days. Those 3 high days, I'm going to monitor my fasted glucose in the morning. And let's say it's like 90. I wake up and I'm going to have 150 carbs. I will get about maybe 1 unit of insulin for every 15 to 20 carbs in that. So if it's 150, I might take 8 units, or I might take 10, let's just say, in the morning. And that will give me enough insulin to get to like meal 3, where I can check my glucose again, see if I have a need for insulin again, and then go ahead and do that till post-workout. I'm not a big fan of doing pre and post, because that overlap of Humalog does drag you down. So you might be fine pre-workout to have insulin and have your meal and cover that. But you got to remember, even though it's a rapid acting fast Humalog, it's going to still overlap for like 6 hours into that next meal anyways. So you might take your glucose and have had your intra-shake and say, well, I'm at 90 again, but you still have insulin that is working exogenously that you've injected from the pre-workout meal that's going to overlap now into that post-workout. So you're going to be quite careful, I think, with that. So I just like to use it to manage my glucose levels throughout my high days and not really look at it as like a performance enhancer for the fact of pre and post.
That's more like bro science when you're using it for pump status. Mine is pretty much the same exact thing. I mean, I'm not implementing insulin unless my glucose is over 90 on high days, and I'm only doing it on meals 1, 3, and 5. Again, so you're not getting that overlapping. And also, I don't like using it on my last meal of the night, because my last meal of the night, I'm more stagnant and I'm not moving around because I'm at home now and I'm resting. And I just find that it's easier to go hypo for me if I'm just kind of like stagnant and not doing much of anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you might not be utilizing.
exactly. I want to be utilizing the insulin.
Yeah, so you can still use it pre and post. Some coaches have different, but I'd almost rather just twice or 3 times a week be using insulin than every training day and desensitizing myself in the long run as well.
Right. But again, if your glucose is under 90, there's no need for it whatsoever. Which in our case is our glucose levels have been really good. Like we haven't had to use insulin much at all lately. We're usually in the 80s at this point.
Yeah, I'll typically like meal 1 and meal 3. I could probably get away with a little bit, but by the time I've trained and I go post workout, which is my meal 5, I almost never need it. Like I'm probably going to test it. Today's a high day, and I guarantee I'm probably around 80, 85 right now. There's no need to. My pancreas can handle that without problem. My post workout meal. Let's see. Do you think using EQ is worth it anymore with all the better options out there now? I don't really think that EQ is a poor option. So equipoise was originally a steroid that was used in the equestrian field. That's why they call it EQ, equipoise, and it's basically a derivative of testosterone. So I actually like it because I use EQ. My favorites, to be honest, is always going to be testosterone and primo. I do like EQ because it does help modulate my my estrogen without using an AI between primo and EQ. Some people take EQ and primo and it's way too strong. They'll crush their estrogen. For me, it works just right. I might take, let's say, 800 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams of testosterone. I'm probably going to be at like 600 EQ, 600 primo, and that's enough to keep me perfectly at bay at that point. And EQ is a great substitute to just implement milligrams to just get your anabolic load up there. I see really low side effects. Some people get anxiety from EQ. I don't. I can't really handle the 19-nor androgens like DECA, NPP, or like Trenbolone has to be really low to utilize. So that's my opinion. I think there's the only better option out there might just be like primo, if you can afford it or find it for the most part. Jackie can't answer that one because she does not take EQ, obviously. What else you got?
Let's see. Do you train to failure every session or use more volume plus sub-max effort?
Well, we definitely don't go to like failure in the sense of on every exercise. So I would say that I'm a creature of habit. So my training is really just looks like this. I'll explain this way. The whole training session is going to be at a high volume rep range. So, and I can go to failure at a 12 to 15 rep range. That's for sure. It's easy to go to failure using any amount of rep range, but I keep the load a little bit, the intensity load in sense of weight a little bit lower, and I'm definitely a volume trainer for that. Now, what I like to do though is let's say like today was my chest day, so I warmed up with a little bit of the machine, press machine, just to get my joints kind of working and get the actual target muscle working. And then I'll move into like my first 2 movements will be my heaviest movement. So that might be a plate loaded press machine, or like a dumbbell press or some heavy press motion. I'll do those 2 kind of really heavy and probably in like the 10 rep to 12 rep range, and try to tear the muscle down. And then I'll go into like more fly motions or more like smaller isolation motions for the chest and shoulders instead. So that way I can kind of just pump more blood and tear more muscle apart, but without a risk of hurting myself. You eat all day and you put all these glucose and you put all of these essential amino acids in your body. I want to try to get the biggest amount of pump and volume of blood in the muscle and then walk out with the pump, so that way they can recover with all those nutrients in the target muscle. So that's pretty much how I would, I guess, answer that. But I'm not going to failure at every single single
no.
one, last rep to the death failure.
You and I are
Yeah.
extremely similar in our training, so I'm not gonna. It's pretty much exactly what he said. There was one question here. What's your go-to movement for back width versus thickness? So me being in figure, back width is a huge thing that you're getting judged on. I would say two of my favorites are definitely the individual. I always freaking mess up what it's called.
Just an individual, like bilateral pull down.
Yeah, bilateral pull down.
So one hand at a time.
Yeah, on the cable, and I set myself up with a bench, and I'm making sure that I'm getting that really good stretch, and I'm kind of like I'm rolling myself back and forth, kind of like an accordion. So I get that full stretch, and then I pull it all the way down with the elbow.
Yeah.
That one's excellent. I'm trying to think of like my other favorite one.
Well, I just add to that by like you can take a so-called width movement, like a wide grip pull down, but like we'll use Jackie's example. She'll take the cable and she'll set up a bench and lean over and pull with the lat pull down movement. Now, if you're very strict in that movement, you might be only opening the scapula and closing the scapula at all. Now, if you use the motion she had told you by kind of like overextension, and we call it body English, is kind of the cue that we talk about all the time is body English, which is kind of getting a curve into the motion. So when you think you've maxed out how far you can extend your arm, you actually want to just get a little bit more by curving the spine a little bit safely and not hurt yourself. And then when you pull down, when you think you've had enough, follow your eyes to your wrist, and you can find yourself actually contracting that lat a little bit harder as well. So I think that's what I would suggest with that is just make sure you don't take the exercise that you think is giving you width and not adding to it that way.
My other favorite one is assisted pull-ups. It's like, we all can bang out, a good amount of regular pull-ups, but when you're on an assisted one, you can really focus on the contraction and take your time on that movement. And that's what I love to do. So on that eccentric, just really focus in on that good stretch.
Yeah.
And only be using those muscles. Because a lot of people, when you're doing regular pull-ups, you end up using, your biceps and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd probably say for thickness, like kind of rhomboid, like thickness mid-back is really just any kind of
talking about width, not thickness.
Yeah, width versus thickness. So the movement I would use for thickness versus width, though, for thickness instead of lat width would be pretty much my favorite's actually the cable, close grip cable row. Any version of that where you can just get a little bit of a slight rocking motion so you can get a full rounding of the shoulders and full contraction all the way back. That's what I really like.
Yeah, I like the Cybex pin loaded machines like that. That's one of my favorite. Those rows are great.
We got a couple old Cybex machines that are perfect. They got like neutral grips and then overhand grips, and those are pretty badass.
I would definitely say neutral is the way to go.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be the safest way for people. People throw off their shoulders a lot on pressing and pulling motions and don't realize it. So yeah, neutral grip's probably going to be the way to go a lot of times. So question for Dave we have in the comment. So Castles, he asked, what was the cycle that put on the most muscle for you? And what were you doing in terms of diet and training during that time? So I'd actually say last year, between my first shows I ever did to the second shows I ever did, so not this off season, but last off season, I probably put on the most muscle. I think I put on like 19 pounds of stage weight when we added it up. And the cycle that I did in the off season was pretty much what I just described a minute ago. To be honest, was about a gram of test. It's about 1,000 milligrams of test. And I started smaller, like 750. I had done low drugs in the rebound stage. And then once I got like 8 weeks from the rebound, and things kind of slowed down in the rebound wouldn't work anymore. And it was really, truly off season. You had to push weight, push food, push a little bit of anabolics. I was about 750 test, and we worked up to about a gram. And then I think we were at like 400 EQ and worked up to like 600. And I want to say I just used maybe about the primo, maybe like 300 to 600 range from the lowest to the highest. And then I was doing maybe like at that time only about 5 units of growth hormone, and I would just use insulin like I explained before. I would monitor my glucose. I was not trying to use insulin to put size on, because you will get fat if you are forcing calories and forcing insulin. So I'd say that was the cycle that worked the best.
But you also have to keep in mind that that was like the leanest you ever got, one, and two, implementing carb cycling for the first time, being that lean. So like the drug protocol was like such a small factor to the whole thing.
Sure. I'd say, yeah, you're right. The biggest contributing factor to putting on the most size was being very insulin receptive after coming post show. And yeah, so for diet, I was doing carb cycling, high, medium, low days. I think Paul literally put me on the rebound diet, which was 3 high days at 1,200 grams of carbs. It was an insane amount of food, and I did that for 7 months nonstop.
Yeah, and it was clean. Like you weren't eating cheat meals.
Yeah, I wasn't doing cheat meals, but I would do like, hacks in the sense of like if I wasn't super hungry, we were using some cereal, we were using some breads.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, no you weren't getting sushi and stuff like
I
that.
wasn't eating out. Like, not that it would have hurt me by any means, but yeah, to answer your question, Castles, it was like kind of like a perfect storm scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
But high test, manage your estrogen, because that helps you stay lean as well. And then carb cycling, but I was doing like 1,200 grams of carbs 3 times a week for about 7 straight months. That was a nightmare. And then it was fun for like the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, first month.
Yeah, and then medium days, I think, were maybe like, I think Paul had me from like 450 to 600, and then low days were carb free, just so I could give my body a break, digestion catch up,
insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, and keep insulin sensitivity good. And then training, it was push-pull legs. The judges said that they wanted to see more of my quads, bigger quads and wider back. And I just hammered 2 leg days a week and 2 back days a week during the whole rebound. And it wasn't until like 4 months in did I switch to going to a couple 2 push sessions a week, just to give my back a break in that sense. It was a very productive time. I put on 19 pounds, went from barely placing in the light heavies to getting second place in the heavyweights on the biggest show in our area. So it was a really good off season, that's for sure. Hopefully we can do the same this off season. Let's see what else we got here.
Any other good ones? Let's do like 1 or 2 more.
We'll get to that in a second, Castles. Let me answer another one.
Protein, like, it never changes.
Yeah.
It's basically the carb fluctuation.
What's the most underrated peptide in your stack right now? Well, I'm not really using much of anything right now, anything fancy, but I'd still say IGF-1 LR3 is really kind of, I think people give it a bad rap that it's not as good as advertised because it's not Increlix. It's not bioidentical IGF-1. It's synthetic IGF-1, I guess. And it's been modulated so it can be longer acting. But I find it to be very useful. I use it kind of like pre-workout a few times, get maybe like 150, 200 micrograms. And you get some gnarly pumps, that's for sure. And you get some really good helps with recovery. You stay fuller longer. You can feel your body just actually swelling more than it ever has during your training. You also get better nutrient uptake from the insulin effects to a point. So yeah, that was a pretty good stack, I'd say. Do you taper your T3? I've never used T3 in a prep scenario, so I don't know. What's your opinion on running trend during a growth phase versus contest prep? So off season, I've only used it in off season where I've gotten to like the end of a grow period and we're kind of transitioning to like a holding phase, I'll use a little bit of tren, like 20 milligrams a day, 140 a week, in the sense of just recomping the body composition. But post, what is the cat's freaking out?
No, she's choking.
But post,
No. Bailey, you okay?
excuse me, sorry. But for training, what were we asking for tren? Yeah, tren I'll use for contest prep. Yeah, I use it maybe like 10 to 8 weeks out, start implementing it. I've come to find out I can't use a whole lot. So I really don't go over, 200 milligrams a week anymore. I don't think I'm getting any better body composition, and I don't think that I'm getting anything but side effects from it. So let's see. Let's get a couple more in, and then we're going to actually take off. We got to eat our last meal. So let's see if we got any nutrition. Do you still eat rice or switch to other carb sources for easier digestion? Yeah, we eat plenty of rice, that's for sure.
Plenty of rice.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, I can't believe I ran out of all my freaking rice already.
What would you?
We bag our rice in big gallon bags in the freezer.
We got the world's biggest rice cooker, and so we basically we'll cook like 4 or 5 gallon bags at a time and always have plenty. So we go through a lot. I'd say like 3 to 4 meals a day are easily rice out of 6.
Yeah, like 3 of my meals are rice.
What are some other carb sources that you use for digestion, or just for flavored something different?
I do bagels.
You do a lot of cream of rice.
Yeah, a lot of cream of rice. I sprinkle in some cereal here and there, nothing crazy. I like sourdough bread. If you're buying real sourdough bread, it's really good for digestion. That's like the majority of my favorite carbs. And on my high days and stuff, I like to implement honey a lot. So honey on sourdough bread, phenomenal. Yeah. Highly recommend.
For me, I'm still kind of old school. Like, I'm always usually, if I have a lot of carbs on breakfast or little carbs, I'm usually kind of an oatmeal guy.
Yeah.
And then if I am hungry, like in prep scenario, and I can only have a little bit of rice, I'll kind of volumize my meal by using potato. So I'm still a big potato, oats, rice. I'll use cream of rice a lot too. But yeah, same thing. Bread. We'll use some different bread bagel options that we can have.
Yeah.
Banana is a good one.
Yeah, banana's a good one. But like it changes too, whether if you're in prep or off season, because when I'm in prep, that's when I want oatmeal and potatoes more because of food volume. Yeah. Off season, I don't want those at all. I feel so bad for Bailey.
Yeah, she's just having a coughing fit. Our cat decided now to have a coughing fit during our live. All right, let's get 2 more in, and then we'll take off. So there was a good one I think you'd probably have an opinion on. So have you ever done intra-set stretching or extreme pump sets for lagging body parts? So the only thing I can say that I've done that isn't like an intensifier to the training, like a drop set to intensify the pump, or like forced reps, or we'll do cluster sets sometimes. Like we'll say we're going to do 20 reps, but we're going to do them 5 at a time.
Sets.
But we've done some of, very rarely, but we'll pose in between sets to a point, but not really for the pump, but just kind of keep taking a look at ourselves, but
keeping blood in the muscle.
Yeah, but we do every once in a while do Hani Rambods, like not FST7 in the sense of doing 7 sets, but in between sets, sometimes I might hold a pump, like if I'm doing a shoulder set, in between during my break, I might flex the shoulders and just keep as much blood in there as possible, and then make it really intense for the next set, and then do it again and again.
Like chest flies is a good one. We tend to do that. Do the chest flies in the hold and flex the chest.
Yeah, you can do that with quads. That definitely helps as well.
Yeah.
No, nothing crazy for stretching or anything like that. We try to do the stretch underweight. Well, we try to do like our stretching underweight. So like a lot of range of motion, we're always practicing. So we don't need to really do it after the set.
We should incorporate stretching.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we do.
We are very tight people.
Yeah. Let's get one last one. If anyone's got any last questions, just drop them in the chat. If not, I'll find one here.
Let's see.
I guess this one's not a bad question. It's kind of more obviously fitted towards me. Do you think bodybuilding saves people from addiction or replaces it? That's actually a pretty good one. Because you could almost make the argument that you're substituting like an addiction to a drug and replacing it with an addiction to bodybuilding. So I'd say that I'd say both. So bodybuilding for me has definitely saved me from my addiction that was detrimental to me in a sense. So like without bodybuilding, it'd be hard for me to have structure in the sense of keeping my life on track in very many senses. But it's also, I did kind of replace an addiction with bodybuilding in a different sense. But I'd just say that's passion for it as well, too. So it's really how you look at it. Like some people might be a drug addict and then find out how passionate they were for golf or skiing or something. And they spend a lot of their time doing that or fishing because that's what keeps them a little bit more not worrying about their addiction. They're really interested in fishing and in the travel and then spending the time with people doing different things. So I don't think it's a either or. I think it can be both, and both in a positive sense.
100%.
Yeah, I think you can definitely have bodybuilding and do it responsibly and do it without hurting yourself, because we all know that there's some negatives to bodybuilding. You know, it is an extreme sport. So but I think it's also saved me from addiction because I had that there to kind of replace one negative addiction of being an alcoholic with bodybuilding. And it did save my life. If I didn't have that, I'd be really kind of one of those people just spinning in circles for sure.
It's also people that have inner demons too, and we all have those.
Yeah.
You know, bodybuilding helps with all of that.
Yeah, and you're totally right, Amy. I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Amy says here,
right?
Nothing wrong with replacing an unhealthy habit with a health habit.
Unless if you're taking things to an extreme level where, you know what I mean, where it becomes overly obsessed.
Yeah.
And, you know, the drug use or something like that, you know.
Or like the time spent.
Way.
Like if I was not available for my wife in need, or if we had kids, or if you're not available for your kids in need, or your family or something, because you're just too addicted to like, I want to go work out.
Your priorities get fucked up.
I can't make it to your 50th wedding anniversary, mom and dad, because I got to eat chicken and rice at 3:00. You know, that's stupid. So
developing the healthy addiction.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Going, as Amy says, going too far takes the healthy out of the habit for sure. Yeah. So there's got to be balance. If not, it's just you're replacing one bad scenario with another bad scenario. But it saved me. If it wasn't for bodybuilding, I'd have something. I'd go stir crazy and have to fill this energy, this kind of a distraction of work, because like I would drink in the past to blunt all the work and stress. It would be just something to blunt the stress I had from work and try to get through the next day. And bodybuilding has done that, but in a positive sense, it's kept me on track. So if it wasn't for that, I might be fishing, I might be working on a car, I might be, you know, maybe we'd be going and doing more sightseeing, or, you know, doing some sort of traveling. I don't know what we'd be doing with
bodybuilding.
It's hard to tell.
It totally mentally helps me in so many ways. I mean, it saved me in a lot of ways too, through a lot of turmoil I went through back in the day, a few years ago too.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think that's going to be it for us tonight. We just felt like doing something different, jumping on, answering some of these questions that have been piling up. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, drop a comment. Tell us what you think. If you got questions, throw them in there. I'll make sure I save them and do this as often as I can. I'm trying to jump on at least once a week to get some sort of live interaction with people and answer questions that everyone likes to ask me at the gym. Well, this could be the place where you get to ask me, and I'll spend the time to answer it the best for you.
I'll try to jump on a little more often. I'm definitely more behind the scenes type of person.
Yeah. And we got another video dropping of us being goofballs coming up here in the next probably couple days, so that'll be out soon. But thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate your time, and like, subscribe, and give us a comment. Love you guys. See you later.
Later, guys.
Now to figure out how to end this, huh?
There.
There we go.